Hey everybody, this is Richard, and this month we are playing Dark Streaks and Darker Secrets in a custom setting. It's normally designed for the modern world, but we are playing it in an early 20th century analog world based on Michael Lombardi's Renaissance city of Pentola from the Beneath the Canals Zine Quest Kickstarter. We've updated technology in Pentola a little bit, but kept it just as creepy and weird as Michael originally wrote it. A lot about Pentola is still coming out from a lot of really fantastic writers, including Michael, Mabel Harper, Fiona Geist, and Abigail Lalonde, and numerous others. But we have just used it. We're just going to scratch the surface with this short series, and we are using Diogo Nogueira's Dark Streets and Darker Secrets game that just came out and is available on DriveThru, and the link will be in the show notes. I have three fantastic players. Tonight, we're pretty much just doing a short encounter and a session 0 and talking a little bit about our concept. And I wanted to let you into my question asking kind of character flesh out session. So I'm going to get a notepad up and ask a few questions of my players. Let's start. 1 second. The page with my notepad freaked out. Google Chrome, you're being weird. All right. Let's start with Salazar, played by Jason. And Jason, tell us a little bit about Salazar and who Salazar is.
Yes, I rolled a Serpent Man as my gifted character. Of course, this is the kind of game where a gift is also a curse. Salazar is he has the memories of a man, but due to a botched procedure of trying to transfer consciousness to the body of a serpent man, he is effectively a serpent man who does not remember who he used to be. He can resemble other people and do other weird things.
Wow. Okay. So you are not part of the ambitious conspiracy to dominate the government of Pentola.
No, and in fact, Salazar has he doesn't use his last name anymore because he's not sure if he still counts as that guy, or his first name, whichever. He doesn't really get into the details of it. He's one of those doesn't like to talk about himself kind of guys. But yeah, he has absolutely no idea why they picked him. He wasn't particularly important or powerful or anything, so no idea.
1 second. So Salazar is a gifted. What powers does Salazar demonstrate as a gifted?
Well, like all gifted, Salazar can sense supernatural disturbances and basically burn points of physique or agility to boost his willpower. But him personally, he can also grow to unnatural sizes. It's a serpent man thing, I guess. I've heard. He can read people's thoughts and assume the appearance of others. And if he's feeling peckish, devour the flesh of other people to heal his wounds. I kind of hope that one doesn't come up, but I figured, seems like a Serpent Man power. I might as well give him that.
We should point out that we have lines and veils.
Oh yeah. If we don't want to do that, there was another one that would work really well for like a poison bite kind of thing.
And I apologize that will confess it to the audience at home as well. I forgot to mention to my players that there was a lines and veils sheet. You can fill it in anonymously if you like. if we have questions, we'll bring that up to the group just for fleshing out and let you. But I can't see who's editing what in the document. So if you would like to fill that in anonymously at a point, keep an eye out for each other and let me know if somebody's added detail on that I should be paying attention to. But I've got that open right now if somebody would like to add details to it. And one more question for Salazar.
Mm-hmm.
How do other people in the city, not just conspiracy theorists, but do people in the city generally know that there are serpent people living in the city among them?
I mean, people talk about it, right? But people talk about a lot of things. So, I mean, I imagine that it's something that most people kind of dismiss as, rumor.
How long have serpent people been living in Pentola, and do they come from another part of this planet, or they come from somewhere else entirely?
Well, I'll tell you this. Because Salazar doesn't have the memory of any serpent people, the
Mm-hmm.
best that he can put together is some guesses.
Okay.
He believes they're from another world entirely. But that's his particular pet theory, and that they've been here since. Well, I don't really actually know much about this strange world myself, actually, as a player. But they've been here potentially for hundreds of years. F- from his perspective, this seems like a really crap conspiracy that they would abduct random guys who have no particular political power and hang around for hundreds of years without actually uh, doing anything of any real interest. So, and he thinks of himself as on the run from them, but nobody really seems to be coming after him either. So, at least so far. So, it's not really clear whether it's a conspiracy or just like a really weird hobby.
Or just survival? Is it possible? Is it possible this is just something they must do to sort of maintain their lives?
Oh, wow. Thanks for giving something to keep Salazar up at night.
Um, so it may not be what the humans think at all.
Yeah.
Everyone may have misunderstood the serpent people all this time.
And I'm going to have to keep my lights down for a while longer and be in
Okay.
dark mode for a while because of the migraine. But if it helps, I can speak extra spookily. Whatever works for you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. One more quick note for me. And I am going to switch over to Thuban playing Jabril. Am I saying Jabril correctly?
I have no idea. It's apparently the Middle Eastern version of Gabriel, so either works.
Okay. Nice.
So,
Okay.
so
Jabril chosen by a demon. So tell me about Jabril.
as you said, he is chosen by a demon. He's a gifted, and he gets his powers from this demon who I don't know yet as a player because
Okay.
I haven't thought that far yet. His powers are damaging touch, which lets him make melee attacks with his touch. A shadow cloak, which lets him hide in plain sight. I think it's covered by shadows. Yeah, and I can summon things as well.
Nice. All right.
Other than that, it's it's another gifted.
All right. So you also sense supernatural disturbances, and one thing that I forgot to ask Salazar that I will sort of backtrack and ask Jabril, what does sensing the supernatural look like to you? Do you just see like aura sight?
I think he smells it. He smells the supernatural. I'm not sure how to say anything else other than he smells it, and he just knows where it is by scent.
All right. Salazar, backing up real quick. Sensing the supernatural for you, what does that sort of look like, or how do you sense?
There is a scent associated with it. It's not enough. It's a little too subtle for him to pick up on. But he sees something that it looks kind of like a weird little ripple in the air, like a sort of like uh, rock falling into a pond, except mixed with a heat mirage. Let's say. Sorry, spookily. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I was only being silent because I was taking that note.
Of course.
I mean, you really have to have those nictitating membranes in your eyes to really get
Yeah.
to really get to see it.
Yeah. I've been practicing my blinking in 2 directions. I'm sorry that you won't be able to see it.
Jabril, what are 2 things you know about this demon? It may not be the demon's name or the demon's, but what are 2 things you feel moderately certain are true about this demon? I mean, demons are big tricksters. They may tell you their names, but they may not really be their name. All sorts of things.
So things that I would think I would know about this demon, basically, in
Yeah.
particular. Uh, it manifests via wolves. That's one thing.
Multiple wolves for one demon, or just different wolves?
Just one wolf per demon, probably.
Okay. All right.
The second thing is I need to think about that second thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
I think the second thing is that it came from below. Like, demons can come from many places, but this one specifically came from below.
Below Pentola itself?
Yes.
Kind of at or beneath the place where you can sense the heat of the Earth's core?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. All right. And I think I get a sense of why Salazar might turn to looting the old catacombs, or taking things from the old catacombs of the city in order to make ends meet. But Jabril, what drives you to exploring the catacombs?
It kept telling me to. And also I'm curious about it, so it's twofold. Like, my character wants to, but also he's being told to go there as well.
And Salazar, I was sort of assuming that you sort of went to the catacombs because it gave you a way to sort of function in the world without needing to be seen in the world above too much, or have to disguise yourself too frequently.
Yeah, and if I'm going to be down there anyway, I might as well get paid for it.
Nice. Okay.
It's not like there's a lot of lines of work open to, a guy who turns into an 8-foot tall lizard or whatever.
Last but not least, Sybil, played by Stinter. Stinter, tell me all about Sybil.
So Sybil is 42 years old. She's been moving between various dangerous, physically demanding, and low-paying jobs for practically her whole life. Came into the Pentola area because there was an oil drilling boom, and she was working on the oil rigs. When the boom crashed, she was kind of drifting for a bit and wound up on the exploring the catacombs gig just to make ends meet now that the oil companies weren't hiring in the area anymore.
Did you have to sort of kind of explore the lower reaches as part of drilling?
So the drilling was taking place. So my kind of concept here, because my complication is hides a forbidden knowledge, and so my thought is that during some of the drilling on this last job, we were drilling deeper than we usually do, and I got sent down to fix some. There was some issue with the drilling rig, and rather than kind of address it the way that you're supposed to, according to the safety regulations, they just kind of sent me down to fix it while the thing was running. And there was some sort of an explosion while I was down there. I got knocked out for a bit. And ever since then, there's been I felt like I know something dangerous about the world below, but I can't quite it's like one of those things, it's like on the tip of your tongue, or you dreamed about it last night, but you can't quite bring it to mind. But I know there's something in there from that last accident. But I've had plenty of accidents, so and they've not all healed properly, so I'm pretty creaky, and hence my lowest possible agility score in the game.
Nice. Okay. Cool. And Sybil's a tough one. So did the field go dry, or did you just kind of leave the oil business, or did the oil business leave Pentola?
I think the oil business left Pentola. There's because the natural gas or natural resource industries go boom and bust cycles, and it hit the bust, and they've moved on to somewhere else where they can drill cheaper and find cheaper labor and all that kind of stuff. So I and everybody else that was working those oil fields got kind of tossed out on the street.
Wow. All right. And of course, oil wells are specifically known for going dry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have a couple more questions, but I do want to remind our viewing audience that this is a Gauntlet game, so we are abiding by the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. That includes using safety tools like lines and veils, which we have in our character keeper, and also the X card. And I believe that all my players know the X card. We'll also include a couple of links to information about that in our show notes as a safety tool. From there, I would like to know what brought the three of you together as a crew who goes down into the catacombs to sort of bring out the city's history in ways that academic historians and antiquarians may find distasteful, but will still pay you good money for.
Well, I could say that Salazar is desperate for human contact. Mm-hmm. So anybody who seems weird enough and or brave enough to even interact with somebody who changes appearance every hour would be somebody he'd want to introduce himself to.
Cool.
So maybe like you and I ran into each other somewhere, and I saw you like transform, or saw you in your serpent form, and was just totally not phased. It's like, yeah, whatever, lizard people.
Sounds great.
And then you were like, you seem like someone I could work with.
Yeah, you might have even seen like a giant snake man weeping softly when he realized like you're gonna change appearance every hour means that he looked like himself for an hour and now he can't anymore.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I was just like, look, you got a gig for me. I don't care what you look like.
Nice.
All right.
I think Jabril is involved because maybe the demon told him to look at the serpent, or not, watch out for the serpent man, and he's like, this is the only serpent man he knows from around here that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So so I guess I'm gonna watch out for him.
Does this all seem good to everybody?
Yeah.
And have the three of you been working together for days, weeks, or months?
Oh, I have no particular preference actually.
I think weeks, but that's just my guesstimate. Like I'm fine with whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, weeks sounds good to me.
All right.
Like we're not like, old teammates that have been doing this for a long time, but it's also we haven't like just found each other.
Right, right. So you've all been on one job together. What's one thing that each of you remembers about that expedition down?
At one point, Salazar got knocked out briefly, and before anybody found him, he woke up and found that he was being covered with extremely small, like hand height people whispering his name and touching him, and he could not move. And then when somebody was like, "Hey, there's Salazar over there," all the little people left, and nobody remembered them but him, and he's really wondering what the hell that was all about. Sorry, that was just the first weird thing that popped into my head.
So at some point during going through the caverns, we came across, there's sort of a chamber that was like some sort of a library, that there was just like books floor to ceiling on all the walls, like, weird, creepy old books. And Sybil took one of them off the shelf and tried to read it. And, she's like, literate enough usually to read stuff, but she like, she was like looking at the letters, and they felt like they were normal letters, but she couldn't quite read what it said. And they seemed to like move when she wasn't like looking directly at them. And she didn't really have enough time to, work out the mystery because other stuff was going on. We had to keep moving and get out of there. But, this image of this library with these weird, almost readable books is kind of stuck with her.
I think it's a thing that happened that we all knew it was happening, but we didn't know each other was experiencing the same thing. It was the weeping that sounded like in our minds, and that's why we didn't ask each other, because we would be like, everyone heard the weeping, but no one was brave enough to ask everyone else if they heard it, because out of fear of sounding insane. Because you heard it, but in your mind, basically.
Okay. Any thoughts on those? Anything you want to suggest, speak up on? All right. And for the viewers at home, I can see it on your inventory sheets, but for the viewers at home, each of you has a weird item and a complication. Why don't we review what those are? And I'm going to ask you where that weird item came from. And I may ask you a little bit more about your complication. Sybil, you've already told me a little about yours, but Salazar and Jabril.
I forgot to roll a complication, so come back
Okay.
in just a moment.
I owe something to a supernatural entity, which, to
Oh,
be fair, is
yeah.
which was pretty convenient because it's just my demon. I think I owe him something, but more for like the whole reason I'm alive is to serve him at this point. So
So the demon give you something that saved you from dying?
yeah, I think so. And
From violence or disease, or?
I think it's from disease.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really young. And then there's the weird item, which is the handbound book.
Handbound?
Handbound. And if it's okay, I want to say it's the same book that Sybil tried to read, and then she just gave it to me because it's like, hey, I can't read this. Can you? And I just kept it.
Yeah, I was like, Drill, you're smarter than me. Maybe you can make some sense of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Be right back.
Sure thing. Sybil, what's your weird item?
So my weird item is a brass key, or a bronze key. And so I'm thinking this is something after that explosion at the oil well. Once I kind of got my head back together and stuff, I just found that key in my pocket.
Oh,
and
cool.
Sort of in among my other, loose change and matches and my key to my actual apartment and all the other stuff. There's this extra key in there after that incident. And so I put it on my key ring, but I don't know what it's for or where it came from. Nobody that was around, my coworkers didn't know what it was or anything like that.
So this is also like, 1910 level technology culture. So your key ring is, of course, not quite as big as like if you were on Keith Stetson's Kickstarter for Sicko Creek and you got the keys. You didn't get the giant keys necessarily, but definitely like big and clunky, like a bunch of old hotel keys.
Yeah, heavy duty.
Yeah, very heavy duty. And Salazar.
Yeah,
And so,
Salazar.
real quick, sorry, Sybil, one question for you. Is this bronze key older or newer?
Because I've been envisioning it as old.
Okay.
But since the fact that you asked that makes me think it might be more interesting if it's brand new, like shiny, like just came from the factory, kind of new.
Right, fresh cut.
Yeah. So it kind of cuts against the whole like, oh, everything is ancient and stuff. It's like, well, somebody apparently just made this key, or at least it looks like they did.
Nice. Salazar.
Yeah.
Item and complication.
Salazar's item is a pair of old iron manacles. They were on his wrists during the whatever ritual or procedure was used to fill this serpent man's body with Salazar's consciousness, and during whatever vaguely remembered situation led to him being free, the chain between them was shattered, but the manacles he's never been able to actually get off. The complication is that as he was sort of running from the wherever they were holding him, wherever they were doing this thing, um, a woman kind of showed him the door out and kind of covered for him, and has since contacted him to check in and see how he's doing. And he's kind of pieced together that this is a wealthy businesswoman who was also a secret serpent woman.
Ah.
I am back. I'm just off camera because I'll be eating.
Okay, no worries, no worries. We're actually about to go to a short break, audience at home, and I think that is all my questions. And remember that if you invoke or use your complication, or I bring your complication in, um, then you step up your luck die. And I'm going to be pretty liberal about how and when to use that luck die. And if you, or for that session, you step up your luck die. And if you use your concept, this is a little fate-like. If you use your concept, you're at advantage for that roll if your concept applies to the roll. Otherwise, it's a pretty traditional sort of roll under system. You'll make a check against a stat and try to roll under. There is an advantage disadvantage mechanic, so if you need to, if you're not good at something and you want to like sort of figure out ways to mitigate your risk, and that will give you some advantage, or just take the entire risk out and make it so where you don't really need to roll. So, does anybody have questions before we go to break, or anything about the system that people want to know about? Or all right, when we come back, we will be picking up in the middle of a tunnel in the Undercity, where you have heard there's been a small cave-in opening a corpse ant tunnel that goes downward to places that you believe have not been mapped or sort of explored before in the catacombs. Roughly into an area from the old Imperial. Um, in which a area in which a Imperial princess by the name of Tanatha, and I'm going to put that into the chat just so you can kind of see how it's spelled, correspond with her lost tomb. We're going to pick up from there. When we get back, let's come back at let's say you want to say 5 after. I think we are all in either Eastern Daylight or Atlantic time, which I think most of us are at 9:25 right now, thereabouts. Zubin, is that correct for you as well?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
currently equal to Eastern right now in
Right,
Puerto Rico.
right. So why don't we do 9:35 for coming back, and I will see y'all then. Give Jason just a second to get back. Give me 1 second too, real quick. All right. Of the three of you, which do you think heard about this small cave-in or opening, cracking in this otherwise well traversed and well explored portion of the of the of the catacombs?
If no one volunteers, I can be.
Cool. Okay. And which of you put together that this would be roughly near where the lost tomb of Tanitha was?
I nominate Sybil.
Okay, I was thinking that might be too intellectual of a thing for her, but I can make that work.
I have an idea if it's helpful.
Yeah,
Oh.
go for it.
The businesswoman that I owe, when she got in touch with my character, she casually threw that little factoid in there upon conversation leading in that direction.
Okay.
Oh, okay, then that works, I think.
And when you saw the fresh footprints in this area of the catacombs, I think it's rainy and gray outside today, and it's kind of foggy. It's not pouring rain, but it's just kind of that like intense mist that's kind of foggy mist. And everything is muddy. So when you saw those fresh, muddy footprints coming down, Sybil, who were you afraid, or who were you nervous or suspicious this would be? Who seems to have gotten here this same morning, maybe slightly ahead of you?
So I'm gonna say it's somebody that I know from the oil days, who is similarly turned to treasure hunting. Once the oil business went bust, and it's someone that was like a supervisor, and so I had kind of a contentious relationship with.
Male or female?
We'll say male.
All right. Does the name Lazar
Sounds
work
good
for
to me.
you? All right.
Yeah.
Is it just intuition, or is there something about that footprint that?
I think that Lazar. Part of the reason that there's some tension between us was that the supervisors on the oil rig were all clearly paid much more than the regular workers like myself, and Lazar invested in some really nice boots, and so the shape of the footprints looks like some of the fancy boots that I knew that Lazar liked to purchase with that extra money.
So it's like a brand. I think we're at the beginning of that time when brands of shoes would stamp their logo into the heel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a few of them are clear enough that we can see it's this particular brand that I know that Lazar liked. And that I could never afford.
Right. And was he like a big enough asshole to like show them off to you?
I think it wasn't even so much that he was an asshole. I think he was just oblivious.
Okay.
Like he was so happy. I got these boots. They're great. And they're like the latest fashion and everything. And he'd strut around in them, like oblivious to the fact that to the rest of us, it felt like he was showing off the fact that he made way more money than we did.
Jabril.
Yes.
Who are you nervous that might be working on a crew that would come down, have found out about this sort of cave-in before you and sort of come down here? Nervous of, jealous of, suspicious of people who might work on not necessarily lead a crew, but would work on a crew.
Hmm. There's a I've been warned about a certain practitioner, another gifted, that they use blood magic. That's all I know about them.
Do you have a name for them, or are they just?
No, I don't have a name. I just know that they use their blood to power their magic, and it's gross and it's powerful.
And your demon warned you to stay away from this person?
Actually, he said to eliminate them when I see them.
All right. And Salazar, what did your contact suggest What did your contact say?
Like, just
about
okay.
the sort of cloak that Tanitha was reputed to be buried in.
What did the contact say about the cloak Tanitha was reputed to be buried in? Yeah.
Let's be suspicious that this is not just of monetary or historical value.
It's said that the cloak was woven out of a material that was dug out of a rock that fell from the sky.
Nice. All right. So, you've entered, and Lazar's boot prints seem to be headed, Sybil, in the same direction you and your companions are headed. And it's so wet, and the footprints are so muddy. He can't be more than an hour in front of you. You're in the Undercity, which is the level just below where they've, in the last few hundred years, they've dug the canals. And it is humid and dripping here anyways, but when it's raining outside, it's even muddier, as the people who come and go from the Undercity normally attract all sorts of mud, and the mud just and again, this is an area of the Undercity that that fairly well. It's not it's a place you've passed by before, and a place that you've certainly, it's not, you're not a stranger to. So it's a place that you've used to kind of come and go from. Certainly heavily looted, not a lot of mysteries here, until you get to the turn you were directed to by Salazar's contact. And just as she said, there is a crack in the wall that spreads, and where the rock on the wall has been chewed away. And it seems to sort of intercept a downward sloping tunnel. The tunnel goes up kind of into darkness. But you're very rarely interested in things that go up. You are very interested in things that go down, to places you've not been before. And this is burrowed. This is a burrowed tunnel, so there's definite signs of like excavation and then packing dirt along the sides. And it's narrow. And it's got a waxy, acidic smell to it. And there's this sort of sweetness sort of cutting over everything. from somewhere down further in the tunnel. And this seems to be the area that Salazar's patron, client, however you want to define that relationship, was talking about. What do you do?
So I think I approached the tunnel and kind of I've got my lantern and kind of stick it in there and look around and kind of turn to the other two and say, well, I guess this is our tunnel, but it looks like we're not the first ones here, and kind of scuff at the footprints, kind of insulting, like, insultingly, like, there's a word that I'm not bringing to mind.
You just sort of kick at the footprints, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I will cast Shadow Cloak on myself.
Why don't you make a willpower check there?
How does difficulty work again?
Let's call this. One second. Let me check Shadow Cloak real quick, just to make sure I'm getting it right. If the audience at home will bear with us momentarily.
Oh.
How long do you want it to last?
How about a simple, well, two turns, probably. 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes? Okay. So difficulty 2.
So how does difficulty work in the system?
So you're going to try to get equal to or under your willpower, but you need to beat the difficulty.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
If you get a natural 20 or you don't beat the difficulty, something goes wrong with the power. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Can I ask a question?
I got an 8, which...
Sure thing.
My question.
Yeah.
But 8 sounds good, though, for you. Right? So it's kind of...
it meets both requirements.
Terrific.
So,
it's kind of a moot point, but for future reference, I'm very curious how the advantage rule works in terms of casting. It's like, okay, this is a power that you get from your demon. Your concept is chosen by a demon. Does that mean that you get advantage on pretty much any time that you do something that seems vaguely
No,
demonic?
I think it'd be more of a when you were doing something under duress for your demon.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
In that case.
Excellent. Thank you.
It would need to be like the whole sort of scene and use would need to be demonic in nature.
Yeah. So yeah, I am covered in shadows and invisible for 20 minutes.
Nice.
And I'll follow.
So this is a narrow passage. Who's going first?
I'm happy to.
Okay. Salazar. And then Sybil?
I think Jabril in the middle.
Yeah, and then Sybil.
Because Sybil's the tough. She needs to guard the back, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
And what are you doing for light specifically, Salazar?
I'm holding on a lantern and kind of like tensely waving a sword around just to make sure I don't walk into spider webs or anything equally, yucky.
Is this sort of a saber type thing or more of a machete?
Well, that's a great question. I had written short sword, so let's say machete.
Okay.
Right? That sounds machete-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you proceed
Actually, maybe I should be in the back because Sybil can't see me either. So bumping into me would be very awkward. So I'll be in the back.
Okay. So all three of you are moving along. When you see at the edge of the light, Salazar, you see sort of a large, lumpy form, like a mound, sort of in the middle of the floor. Salazar, you can.
Oh, and I misread it. It's not invisibility. It's just I can hide better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it makes sense. Better than just invisibility for 20 turns. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, so you're sort of like back there, sort of like in the shadows, just sort of blending in. Salazar, could you make me an intellect check?
I sure can. I would fail my intellect check. I roll a 19.
At least not a 20.
There's
That would be
something
bad.
weird about this tunnel, and you can't really quite like where it came from. But there's a large sort of lumpy form kind of pushed against the edge of the tunnel up ahead. That's going to be sort of like hard to get around from what you're looking at right now, like in the shadows. But as you see that, you realize that all of you have been smelling an increasingly sweet smell for some time now.
Do I recognize it as magic?
No, it's definitely not magic. It's something sort of naturally sugary, nectary. And Jabril, you can make an intellect check as well, just based on that smell.
Alright. Reroll. That is a 5.
Nice.
And my intellect is 11.
You know that, Jabril, you know that corpse ants break everything down into sort of like these sickly, heavy, glucosey sugars. And that must be what you're smelling, because nothing else produces
sugar.
That sort of like dense, sugary, sweet, almost sickly, sweet smell.
I'll tap Sybil on the shoulder and let her know. Corpse sense, and just fade into the shadows. Can I test agility to hide?
Yeah, and do that at an advantage, I think, since you're treating it like whatever benefit you get from Cloak of Shadows, but like
Reroll. I got a 6 under my agility of 11. The other one doesn't count.
Okay. And Sybil, you're right behind Salazar, and I think at this point it's easy to the edge of his lantern light sort of see sort of something just sort of piled against the tunnel wall.
Mm-hmm.
As this descends somewhat steeply and unevenly towards downward. What are the three of you doing?
So I think I'm gonna just poke at it with my machete. I think if there's weird stuff in here, I would just kind of prod it to see.
So you're gonna slip around Salazar and just sort of prod that thing?
Yeah.
You get up to it. Do you have your own source of light?
Yeah, I have a lantern.
Okay. So you get your lantern in one hand and the machete in the other, and you get up to it, and it looks like a freakishly large corpse ant. Like corpse ants are already pretty friggin' large. Um, yeah, 3-4 feet long. And this one looks even bigger and weirder, and it looks like it had some sort of sacs or bladders along its body that have collapsed. And that's where that sweet, sweet smell is coming from. And then
Is it moving at all?
no, it is not moving. It is very still. In fact, it seems almost desiccated.
Okay.
And the sacs seem to be like covered in sort of this crystalline, like sugar, almost like sugar cookie sort of. But it also has this kind of thick, sickly sweet sort of acidic smell coming off of its body. And it's got a like part of its abdomen seems to have been pulled away, almost like it was like pulled off. And its exoskeleton is kind of collapsed and kind of hollowed out under one area. And there's this kind of crystalline sugar everywhere. And it seems very dry. Like the tunnel itself is much drier. The air is than the old Undercity tunnels, but that you just left, where the canals just sort of drip into them. And the tunnel continues past that.
Corpse ants aren't known to be intelligent, are they?
No.
Okay.
I think as you get closer, Jabril, you've probably never seen one of these, but you may have heard that there's corpse ants who fill a role called honeypot.
Mhm.
That they just sort of fill their parts of their exoskeleton with sort of the nectar of the corpse ants, and that they just sort of travel along as sort of a traveling food source for the rest of their band or whoever they're traveling with.
Can I scrape some of that into a bottle or something?
Sure.
Thanks.
Even just a napkin or a cloth, because it's all sort of dried and crystallized right now. Like almost like you made simple syrup and then let it go dry.
I think I'll scout ahead. I'll tap someone in the shoulder and let them know that I'm going ahead for a bit while they investigate the corpse ant.
Mm-hmm. You can give me a luck check if you like, or
How does that work?
so let me kind of read the luck check rule to you. 1 second. You have a luck score in ability to be in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. Um,
It's a D6
you roll
under.
you roll a d6 and compare it to your luck score. If you would like me to bring in your demon, you can temporarily up it for the duration of this session to 4 rather than I think 3. Is that what you normally have?
Yeah, 3 is normal.
If it's equal to or lower, the situation develops in your favor. If you roll above, your luck score things are not lucky for you, and your luck score goes down by 1.
All right. I will roll with the 3. I rolled a 5, so luck goes down.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Make a dexterity check really quickly.
Also, am I still hiding? Is this aided by being hidden?
Yeah. Why don't you make a dexterity check at advantage?
All right.
Or agility check, or is it?
I rolled a 6 or a 9, which are both under my agility.
All right. So you are pretty sure you can't be seen. And you're moving along at a nice clip. When an eyeless serpentine head extends down from the ceiling, and it opens its very, very toothy maw. And misses you.
Oh, I see. So I'm being attacked by snakes.
But
It's
a
what
snake
it looks
is like with no eyes, a very large snake with no eyes.
Oh, okay. Can I shoot it?
One moment, and it's just missed you. So you may 1 second. So make that roll a dexterity check. It is a difficulty class of 3.
All right.
Or an agility. I keep saying dexterity, but agility.
Yeah, I noticed. That's a 1. So no, I don't get him due to difficulty.
When something happens inside the difficulty class, things go wrong. So 1 second. So your gun jams briefly. You think you'll be able to clear it. But your bullet did not go off, and it's going to take another round of clearing it, or you're going to need to attack it with something besides shooting it. But now, I think Sybil and Salazar can see sort of what you're up against as you move forward, and all of a sudden, this eyeless snake sort of comes at you. Without this eyeless snake, which suggests you've not been able to hide from it because it just senses movement. So Why don't Salazar and Sybil? Why don't you tell me what you're doing?
So I just want to be clear. Are we aware that there's a snake attacking our friend right now?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. I would like to counterattack the snake because that's not okay.
Yeah.
Specifically, why don't I try and use a power?
Okay.
I'll make myself a large target because we snakes got to stick together or attack each other or something.
Right.
I will try to use a natural growth. Wait. I should ask this first. How low is the ceiling?
It's pretty low. It's a little bit like you're about what 5.5? No, I mean maybe 5'9", 5'10", maybe 6 feet tall. It's about a foot or so above you, right where you are, but it kind of expands and contracts.
Then it might not be the best idea for me to become double my size. In which case, instead, I will just try to slash at it with a machete.
Okay. All right. So I will stop trying to look up that power.
All right.
And let's go. I'm sorry, Thubin.
Sorry, my guess Google Hangouts decided to shit itself.
Oh, that's okay. I saw you as still here, so make a might roll.
If I roll equal to my score, does that mean it's a crit?
No, sadly, it's not the white hack rule.
Sad.
It's sad.
That's okay.
I think
if I roll equal to my score, is it a hit?
It is a hit.
Well, I did roll
Indeed.
equal to my score, so that's why I keep asking.
Okay. I assumed there was a motivation there.
Right.
Then what's a crit in this system?
1 second. Oh yeah, no, it is a crit. Sorry, I was thinking that was white hack. But I forget that Diogo has been very influenced by white hack.
And also difficulty would make it so that it would
it can't be a
it
one,
would
right?
have
It can't
to be that.
So why don't you so you're gonna inflict, you can either do full weapon damage plus a roll. So if it's 6 plus, if it's a d6, then it'd be 6 plus a d6.
Gotcha.
Or you can benefit from advantage on actions against the target for several more rounds.
Oh yeah, my odds really stink. So, well, you know what?
Or you can impose disadvantage on it for that many rounds.
Oh, that sounds nice. It's probably using some sense other than its eyes to see. So I'm gonna try and smack it in the nose or something like that, and try and impose some kind of disadvantage on it.
Okay. 1 moment. Why don't you roll a d6? Roll a d6 to tell me how long before it sort of is able to figure out how to correct for
4
cutting into its sort of sensor, and then roll the damage.
3.
3. All right. All right. Sybil, what are you up to?
So I think I am just going to take a swing at it with my machete as well.
All right. Why don't you roll your might?
All right, so that's a d20.
Yes. And you want equal to or under, but over a 2.
Okay.
A 2 or a 3? Because you said 3 against me.
I'm using a homebrew hack of hit dice, and one of the hit dice has now gone away.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I accidentally just rolled a fate die.
That's okay.
I got
Fate
an
die.
18. Yeah, I forget which side the box is on for some of these.
Oh
things.
yeah.
Yeah, I got an 18.
An 18, which is not a hit, correct? I don't think. Yeah, you can't. You couldn't have a physique. Sorry, I keep saying might. Physique of 15, above a 15. So yeah, you come down, but it's sort of like barrels into your hand, or sort of like with its forehead, as it sort of thrashes wildly after getting pounded hard in the snout, and trying to get its bearings and figure out where things are. It smacks into your hand as you're trying to come down on it. And it seems terribly disoriented, but in its thrashing around has kind of pushed you back, and you did not land. And 1 second as I check. Is it also, well, cannot seem to locate where you all are. Profoundly disoriented. And Jabril, what are you doing now?
Since my friends are here, I want to unjam my gun, but that will have to wait as I punch it with magic using my damaging touch.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna make it a power level 3, so I guess 5 dice. I mean 5 difficulty 5.
Yeah, difficulty 5.
All right. That is 15, which is over my willpower.
But not under the difficulty, so the spell does not miscast in any way. You just can't quite bring the energy down onto the serpent.
It's almost a crit. Almost.
Almost. Salazar.
Muted, unmuted. Great. Yeah, I'm gonna try and stab a monster again.
All right.
That worked out so well the first time. What could go wrong?
Wait, did we have disadvantage on, or did we have? Oh, it has disadvantage.
It has
okay,
disadvantage.
never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rolled an 8 and a 3. The 8 being the attack,
Okay.
which is a hit, and 3 being the damage.
Okay. And Sybil, what are you up to?
So you said I got kind of knocked down.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna scramble up and try to take another swing at it.
All right. Why don't you roll your physique again?
Got a 13 this time, which is still above.
Okay. Yeah. It's just still thrashing around too wildly for you to really kind of land that hit, which is frustrating. Is it just sort of like wildly like snaps at the air? Still missing. What are you doing now, Jabril?
I'm gonna keep punching the fuck out of this snake until it dies with magic.
Power level.
Same one.
Same one. Okay.
Oh, I'm at 5. That's at the difficulty. So, fuck.
Yeah, and it's a 1 second.
Wait, is it at the difficulty, or did the snake lose any more HD?
Oh yeah, it did. So now the difficulty is 4.
Yes, I deal 3d6 plus 1. Oh no, 1d6 plus 1 per PL, so it's 3d6 plus 3. Hold up. Let me summon another die and then roll it.
Perfect.
Reroll. So that's 7 plus 3, 10 damage.
10.
Yeah.
Describe your destruction of this.
I punch it and it explodes in gory bits with dark energy.
Not sure what happened. Oh, I got a card instead of a token. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. It stops moving.
I hope that wasn't one of your relatives, Salazar.
It's not funny.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna remember this next time we kill an ape.
Fair enough.
And somebody fired you initially fired a gun, correct?
I fired a
Gabriel?
shot, yes.
A shot.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
can I unjam my gun now?
Oh yeah, you've got your gun unjammed.
Okay.
I think you guys know this is a blind serpent. They live below ground here and have sort of developed the ability to see, sort of like sense movement rather than to see anything. The tunnel leads on. You've certainly seen them bigger, Sybil. This is the biggest one you've seen, but then again, a bigger one probably wouldn't be hunting in a little tunnel like this. You've also seen them smaller. And you had to deal with them a lot during the oil drilling days too. But a little tunnel like this is probably the biggest one you'd expect.
Yeah, I think I just kind of poke at it now that it's dead with my machete because I feel bad that I couldn't deal it any blows. And do they usually run in packs or are they solo creatures?
The larger ones tend to be isolated. They don't tend to swarm or anything like that. You suspect that whatever was torn away from that honeypot ant you just saw was torn apart by this. Partially because of the sugar coating on its snout.
Mm-hmm.
Should we keep going?
Yeah. I mean, we're not earning any money standing here.
Yeah. If we see another one of those, remind me that I have like a pocket full of sugar that I could throw and maybe get its attention.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely the guy you want to call a few minutes after you kill the snake. Anyway, yeah, continuing on.
You continue on. Going down the tunnel, you come to a part where the tunnel breaks. And who's in front and who has the light?
I'm happy to continue to be in front with the light.
Great. Okay. Salazar, you enter something where the corpse ants clearly hit an actual stone space. Um, a chamber of some sort. Um, the chamber with muddy footprints. Going down to a something below, or going down a set of stairs to something below. And you can hear the sound of people working. And you hear someone very sort of nervously going like, well, it sounded like a gun to me.
Has it been 20 minutes yet?
Yeah.
All right.
It's been about 20 minutes.
In that case, I'll recast Shadow Cloak for the same amount of time.
Okay.
Actually, I'll cast it for 10 minutes instead.
I
You
would.
can, okay, it's just for so DC 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
I rolled a 1 because I'm a dumbass.
1 moment. One moment. Roll a D6 there, Thibin.
I got a 1.
It's going to be tougher for you to use magic. Like, there's some sort of pent up abyssal energy, something demonic. In the shadows here. And you're having trouble really sort of focusing that. So your difficulty is going up by 1 the next time you cast a spell.
Okay, so minus 1 forward, I guess.
Roughly, except it's the difficulty is +1. So
yeah, so it's like a forward in PvP.
Yeah,
I meant more than anything. It's like the next roll only.
Yeah, so
Okay.
You're having a frustrating time of it. And sorry, Thubin, I forgot one thing that you think I should know. You are let's take you're going to be down to 6 vitality. Because of the each power level you use also takes away the vitality.
Oh.
Yeah, you spend
I forgot
vitality
about
for
that.
each. Yeah,
I
I forgot about it too. So I forgot to
Yeah.
remind you to do it.
I thought it was only the difference between your level and the power level.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
So let's just add 3 back and we'll check it.
All right.
So you're at
All right.
9.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't know how magic works, so I apologize for that.
No one knows how
All right.
magic works. That's why none of us do it in real life.
But if you wanted to take a guess, it's on page 84. So
Yeah.
the gifted spends an amount of vitality points equal to the difference between the power level
Thank
and the
you.
character's level, and makes
Oh.
a willpower test with difficulty equal to the same PL.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Sure.
There's those same high-end boot prints going off down the stairs in front of you.
Can I request that we turn our lanterns off or move them away from
And
the
there's the sound of
stairs there?
people talking. And Salazar has asked you to dim or put out the lanterns.
What I would like to do is walk over to the staircase and kind of peek down and see if from the darkness I can see anybody's faces down there.
So you're trying to move pretty quietly, right, Salazar?
That I am.
Why don't you make an agility check? Because you've just dimmed your lantern, and you can see where the pit is, where the staircase going down is. Because they've got a lantern lit down there.
I will fail my agility check.
So you're moving along, and as you get up there, there's kind of a squish and a splash, and then several droplets of water going over the edge into the light. And then they get very, very quiet. What do you guys do?
I will follow silently towards Salazar.
I'm guessing that means I didn't get a good look at anybody's face.
Yeah. I mean, you can try to peek over the edge, but you're guessing they're probably looking back up at you
That's
at
fair.
this point. You can continue to do that. I just wanted to give you a.
Well, you know,
I
I've
have
already.
this.
Go
Do
ahead.
we want to scare them? That's the question.
But we could. What I was
Because
trying
I
to
can,
do.
because I can actually scare them with my heritage.
Great. What I had been trying to do was get a look at somebody's face so I could walk down looking like one of them, and then sow some confusion between. But wait, I'm me, not you. But that won't happen now because the best I could really manage is changing into one of them in front of their faces, which would probably just make them attack me. So if you want to just scare the hell out of them, I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
All right, I will be spoopy. So, I will show up in front. I will pick my face, and it will be horrifying, and they will have to make a willpower test or flee for a turn.
Nice.
Oh, it has to be their HD has to be equal to or below my level. By the way, so
Their hit die, yes, they are.
okay, cool. So, they have to make willpower tests. My willpower is 14.
Oh, no, they make willpower test.
Yeah, but like, if you need to know my willpower
Oh,
for that.
yeah. No, because they're testing their own willpower.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Because I thought in this system the GM makes the test, but it has to be over mine to succeed. I'm not, but I don't know how you run it, so shrug.
yeah. Even at 14, um, one sec. And what's the effect of your power happening?
They flee for a turn. If they fail their willpower.
Okay. Okay, so you hear a crash and something breaks. Uh and you sort of step into their dim lantern light. Um and three of them just bolt into the shadows. You're in the way of their fleeing, so they're just sort of in the shadows, and you can hear one of them whimpering. And one of them just sort of steps back and looks at you.
Does that one have really sweet boots?
It is not the one with really, really sweet boots. You might see those really sweet boot prints uh, moving off behind some bit of tomb furniture or something. Uh, One moment. But one of them is looking back at you, Jabril. And Sybil, are you sort of moving up so you can see this?
Center.
Sybil?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were sort of moving up so you could sort of view what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for you, Salazar.
Yep.
And one of them just looks at you, Jabril, and it's just like, that was uncalled for. It's just bloodshot eyes. And some strange scars around the neck, but otherwise just kind of wearing a linen shirt, work pants, um, suspenders, sleeves rolled up.
Do I smell his magic? Well, I have to check for that, but can I check for that?
Yeah, both of you, I think, make a willpower test to smell for magic.
Uh, versus their HD or... Why do I keep rolling ones?
Yeah.
I did okay. I rolled an 11. My willpower's 12.
Alright, so I'm guessing that there's a difficulty, and I I did the
The
difficulty.
DC will be 1.
And I rolled a 1, so...
You are just sort of overwhelmed by the smell of blood. And you just start coughing and gagging. And let me check something real quick. What is your willpower?
14.
13? 14?
14.
14?
Yeah.
You feel overwhelmed by the smell of blood, but you sort of cough it out of your lungs. Salazar, you saw this person do some sort of incantation against uh, your against Jabril. And kind of chewed up in his own wrist to do it. And you see the dark tendrils of power coming off of him. Sybil, you just saw him bite his own wrist and say something to clearly aggressively towards Jabril. Sybil, what are you doing?
I think that I'm gonna step into the area and kind of reveal that I'm there and kind of backing up Jabril, but I don't think I'm gonna make any sort of sudden moves just yet.
What about you, Salazar?
I'm going to ask out loud, what's your business here, and what makes you think that you can use that kind of sorcery on my associate here? And I would like to try and read their mind as they answer or don't answer or whatever.
Why don't you make a willpower roll? Is there anything specifically associated with that particular power?
Yep. The power level's equal to their HD.
Okay, so yeah, that's going to be 1.
Okay.
So you're not spending any vitality, but let's call the difficulty a 1.
Yep. Sounds good. No, wow, I don't know what I just did, but it looks like I probably roll a 20.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
we suck.
That's really bad when that happens, right?
You see him pivot towards you, Salazar,
Mhm.
and begin to speak in a language you don't understand. But then you see sort of the reptilian claws of his hands for a flash. And you grab your head in extreme pain. I'd like you to roll a d6.
I rolled a 5.
You're going to take 5 damage to your vitality, and until the end... No, sorry. You're going to take 5 damage... Sorry, I'm scrolling around like crazy. I want you to take 5 damage to your sanity there, Salazar. And you are at disadvantage until the end of the next round. Sybil, is there anything specific you would like to do since you've seen him make another sort of incantation against your allies?
I want to, at this point, step forward and just try to punch him in the face. I don't know if this is a machete kind of situation, but I think this is definitely a punch situation.
Physique works, I think. Why don't you check your physique first?
An 18 again.
You land that blow square, but your hand sort of throbs as you sort of come away, and he did not. He just sort of shakes his head and works his jaw and does not seem at all otherwise fazed by the punch you just landed squarely on his jaw. And I think he's going to, since you were standing right there, Sybil, he's going to try to strike you back. and he's going to get you. Why don't you roll a d6 and take 1 off of it? Minimum 1.
All right. Okay, so that's a 3 minus 1 is 2.
So yeah, you're losing 2 vitality points.
Does armor count factor in?
Armor increases the difficulty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, let's reduce. Let's use armor to reduce, because that doesn't necessarily make much sense. But like, yeah, like you take 1 point off for that.
Okay.
And he begins to say, yeah, it's damage reduction. Thank you, Thubin. He begins to speak some sort of dark incantation. What are you trying to do there, Jabril?
Okay, so this is the blood mage, which I was sent to kill. So I am going to shoot gun.
Nice. Why don't you roll your agility?
That's a 19, so no.
It's point blank, but that also allows him to see exactly where you're shooting and just sort of move around you without
Wait, it's
breaking.
point blank? I thought...
You're not standing that close. I mean, you're not necessarily point blank, but you're standing pretty close to him.
Okay. So, all right.
But that's sort of the downside of that for you, is it allows him to see sort of where you're aiming.
Yeah.
And he moves almost unnaturally fast to sort of get around before you even pull the trigger. And not even seeming to break this concentration on whatever he's saying. What about you there, Salazar?
There we go. I have disadvantage to whatever it is I do. So, I guess I'm just going to awkwardly stumble toward him and try to slash at him.
Roll physique twice and take the lowest. Or the best. So it's the worst.
The one that makes me least happy, I imagine.
Yeah.
The 17 makes me much less happy, because the other one was a crit.
I am so sorry. Because yeah.
Yeah, that's where the cookie crumbles.
What about you, Sybil?
I think it is now. Now it is machete time. So I'm going to take a swing with that. I got an 8.
That is a hit for you, I believe.
Yeah, it's under my physique.
Right.
Oh. That's 1d6 for the damage then?
1d6 plus 1, because you were tough and you always add 1 to your melee damage.
Okay, so that's a 6 total.
Is your machete your favorite weapon?
I would think so, yes.
Okay. So yeah, you actually roll your d20 one more time.
Okay.
And tell me if you get an 11 on the nose.
All right. Nope, I got another 8.
Another 8. Okay. So just roll that d6 and add 1.
Okay, so that was a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Are you trying to smack him upside the head? Or are you trying to just like plow him through the chest? Are you going for the kill, or are you going for the knockout?
I think I'm going for the head.
Okay. Meaning for take the head off, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Head is what hurt my hand when I punched him before, so
you get the absolute right purchase, and you sever his neck. And his lizardy, dinosaurish looking head tumbles to the ground. As his clawed, scaled body, covered with sort of like self-inflicted wound scars, collapses out from under him. And the people who have been cowering cry out even more loudly, like in terror.
Does he look like the same species as my body?
No.
Of course.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah. Can't
Uh,
keep track of the number of disguised reptilians around here.
I'm gonna take a tooth off of his head.
A tooth?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a very fangy tooth.
fang. Blood mage fang.
Yeah, it's not a particularly long one, but it's I mean
It's something I can use to summon him in the future.
oh, nice. As soon as you guys like people are really kind of screaming and cowering and begging you not to kill them.
I guess.
Including Lazar,
Oh right, he's a thing.
who's crying out to Sybil to save, like, show mercy. We didn't know he was that. And they've pried the top off a sarcophagus as well, and its broken stone lid is on the ground where they dropped it when Jabril frightened them.
yeah, I think I go over to Lazar and like grab his arm and kind of like yank him to his feet, and I'm like, "Get a hold of yourself, dude."
Do you slap him?
No, I just handle him roughly.
Why don't you make a willpower check just to see if you can get him under?
Okay. So that's what I'm aiming for, under 4. I got a 4.
Nice. Yeah, he is like he's kind of gasping for air, but that way that like kids do after they've stopped crying. Um, and he's just sort of, okay, 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 we're good. We're good.
Yeah, and then I'll ask him to explain what's going on here.
Meanwhile, I'll look at the sarcophagus and see what they uncovered.
You know that it's so wet and damp around here that usually when you open a sarcophagus, there's not much of a body left. Because the catacombs are dry, like it's especially in this area or a humid place, very chill, cold place. It's not an area where you have desiccated, dry air that's sort of self-mummifying people. And yet, the body in the casket looks not lifelike, but certainly well preserved. I mean, the skin is paper thin, and the hair is white and grayish and fragile looking. But the skin is still on the bones. Almost like it was preserved in a very dry place or properly embalmed.
Alright, I'm sorry. Could you say also the thing that Lazar wanted to explain? I interrupted kind of there.
Oh, so yeah, and Lazarus just like, we were paid to bring back the bones of a member of the old imperial family.
Who paid you?
I mean, it's just, there are people who use these things in experimentations. And, I should be subtle and respect their privacy.
I'm going to go kick the reptile head on the ground and say, "You were paid by monsters. You work for us now."
Make a willpower check there, Salazar.
Oh, I have a 12 willpower and I roll a 14. Sad, sad.
I do not care what indignities you inflict on my strange comrades, but I will not be bullied into revealing the identity of my clients.
Oh, can I try and read his mind now?
You may, once you make that willpower check again.
Thanks.
Do I know anything about the clothes? Did Salazar tell us about the clothes of the lady?
Did you, Salazar, did you?
Oh, absolutely. And
Okay.
also I rolled an 8 to read his mind while he was not talking about who his employer was. Which is a success.
You get a sense that there's an arranged sort of drop point that he's supposed to sort of work with. And that his acquaintance there, the blood mage, the reptilian dude, the lizard-like dude, was the contact.
That's okay. I can look like him.
That they have there's a drop, and that if the drop is successful, they will get paid.
Okay.
But the whole thing, he has no idea who his employers are. He's kind of feigning the whole kind of honor. And that he is. You also get a sense that he is somewhat disturbed by the request, but he is looking forward to the cash because he's become indebted.
Okay.
Sybil, what are you up to here?
So what are the other people there doing besides?
Running the fuck away?
They're still looking for a way around you up the stairs. It's kind of clear. They look a little like cornered wild animals.
So I think I kind of stand where I'm blocking their way out.
I'm looking at
menacing.
Was the last thing you said there?
Said, and just try to look menacing so that they don't go anywhere.
Jabril, you were looking into the sarcophagus itself, correct?
Yeah, I'm looking. Does the body have any fancy clothes?
It definitely has the cloak. You knew you were specifically asked about the cloak.
Yes, I'm looking for that specifically.
And it is a long cloak. That's almost midnight black or midnight bluish black. Which I think you get a sense had to be expensive, just because dyed clothes were expensive. And sewn into it are these. They look to your eye like porcelain stars, and they're sort of richly painted.
I will attempt to sniff at this cloak. Do I have the -1 forward or whatever it's called?
Yeah, you do, but it's. Go ahead and roll it.
All right. I rolled a 4.
The overwhelming smell as you bring it up to makes no sense to you, and it's not something that anybody else smells right away. It's a smell of like a rich cinnamon. And
Oh, I
cinnamon
was
is,
smelling for magic.
I know.
Oh,
But what you're
okay.
getting is cinnamon. Cinnamon is not a burial spice. Like you can smell when you can smell the residual myrrh and the burial spices, but you're also getting this sort of barky, spicy cinnamon smell. And you only get it when you bring the cloak right up to your face.
Does it have to do with magic?
It clearly has to do with magic, though you're having trouble pinpointing what the magic is.
Right. I'm going to keep the cloak for now. I'm going to stuff it in my bag.
Do we want to use it to transport those bones?
The bones are not my deal.
I was just thinking
it's not my problem.
I was just thinking there's no reason we should leave the payday with them. Also, it's somebody's grave. We could potentially,
Oh, makes sense.
try and shoo them off so that they don't disturb the grave. If that's more our approach to this kind of thing.
The top of the stone top of the sarcophagus has also been broken.
Oh, well, the grave's not going to do that much better for much longer.
What was the princess's name?
Tanatha.
So I'll keep the cloak. I think Salazar, you'd keep the bones since you can turn into the person.
I guess I'll try and move them as gingerly as possible with the intent of, donating them to a museum or something, or we could talk about it on the way back, and you could convince me to sell them.
Or we can, sell them to the person who's hired these people to begin with.
Yeah, if we're okay with them ending up with whatever weird experimental materials they're planning on using.
Oh yeah, some eugenics shit. I don't know. Like, to be fair, I don't know what the general consensus on eugenics is in this world / time period. So
I don't know.
Either way, I don't want to leave them
Right.
with this body, so I guess to the best of my ability, I'm going to look around a corpse.
So you're leaving with
the body and the cloak.
Yeah, I think you can find something to wrap it in.
Yeah, that reptile guy's not using his clothes anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and as soon as your allies are sort of like bundling that body up, the two people who've been trying to hide are like, can we please leave? Can we please leave?
You didn't do anything here. Nothing happened, right?
We broke the lid. We broke the lid, but
No, I mean like nothing happened, right?
they look at you, Sybil, just because you're sort of standing between them and they look at you and they're like, nothing happened.
And I sort of like give them a big. It's hard to do because like you can't see far enough. One of these big like waves with my machete to be like, on your way.
As soon as you like gesture the fact you're holding machete, they proceed up the stairs very slowly, just in case you come at them. And then as soon as they get to the top of the stairs or some distance, they walk quickly.
Be careful of flying serpents.
And I think Lazar asked you if he can go as well.
Nothing happened, right?
No, nothing at all happened. And he's looking intently, Salazar, at where you've sort of bundled the bones or the remains up. And then he sort of looks over at you, Sybil, since he knows you. Nothing happened, I swear.
Yeah, so I think I kind of wave him through too, and as he's going by, I'm like, "You got some mud on your boots there."
I think you noticed that in addition to the mud, this is not the newest pair of boots he's owned. There's some rips, some wear and tear. Some breaks in the stitching. And he sort of defeatedly walks past you and up the stairs, Sybil. And I think that is it. Unless there's something you want to do or say before we head out.
Nah, I'll tell their characters between sessions everything I read from that dude's mind anyway.
Yeah. Thanks for running, and thanks for playing everyone else.
Yeah.
So let me close broadcast. Everybody, will be back next week with a intensive actual 3-hour session with no character creation of Dark Streets and Darker Secrets in Pentola.